Hello, I'm Erica on Weibuchu, and welcome to my podcast, Getting Ahead of Autism. I thought I would use this episode to introduce myself and to tell you a little bit about my son. Also, what you guys can expect in future episodes, where you can send your comments and questions, and how you can get on the show, because my goal is to interview as many parents, siblings, and educators of autism as possible. So what can you expect in future episodes? Well, have you ever wondered what it's like to travel via airplane with a child on the spectrum? Well, I have a mommy who will tell us about that experience and what we can do ahead of time to prepare for travel. We're going to hear from a mommy with an adult son with autism and hear their journey. And as a bonus, her daughter is also going to sit down for an interview so we can hear from a sibling's perspective what it's like having a sibling on the autism range. We can go on and hear their joys and their struggles as a family. And I'm interviewing a teacher who has a child on the spectrum. So as a teacher, I want to be able to ask her what resources are available in school and what a typical routine looks like. And then we also have a mommy who's very passionate about diet, gut cleansing, and detoxing, and what role that all plays in autism. So we have a lot to come in future episodes, which will be released weekly. And we're going to get ahead of autism by raising as much awareness as possible. So make sure you subscribe, hit that notification button so that you don't miss out. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break. So right now, let's get started with story time. So, I went to my son's school for a parents-teacher conference. My son is in kindergarten. Academically, my son is exceeding expectations. So, he's been writing his ABCs since he was 3. I have all the graffiti on my wall of his ABCs, him writing his names just to show. Yes, that's what he does. So, when I went to school, I just wanted to know, where is there room for improvement at? What can we work on with him? What is the problems that we're seeing? So she began by telling me how the students had a project. They received an item and they were told to tell the class what it is, how they're going to use it in their lives. So for example, a kid had an umbrella. This is an umbrella. I'm going to use this when it rains. That's what an umbrella is for. That's how I'm going to use it throughout my life. Just give a little story, a background on the item they had in hand, just to kind of get them in front of the classroom talking, explaining things. So she allowed a couple of kids to go first so Danny can kind of watch and see what's going on and observe and see if he'll just catch on and do it. So she said that Danny's turn comes up. He goes in front of the class and he pretty much just says, "Hey, everyone, my name is Danny and I love school." He does a dance for them, and then he just go back and sit down. And that wasn't the only example she gave me. She was telling me how when Danny has to go to the bathroom, he can be standing there coloring. He'll just pour his pants down right there at his desk, continue coloring. When he's finished coloring, or he get to the point where he have to go so bad, he'll walk to the bathroom. So he already got his pants down to his ankle as he's walking down to the bathroom. He's not like waiting till he gets to the bathroom to pull his pants down. He don't understand that, hey, that's private. You go do that in the bathroom. Also, things that he does is when he catches a glimpse of his reflection, like they can be walking down the hallway, whatever, Danny will see his reflection. He just started dancing with his reflection. So the class, the line is moving where they need to go. Danny has stopped and he's distracted. He's dancing with his shadow. He's dancing with his reflection. So these are some of the things that she mentioned to me. Nothing academically at all. Once you have his attention, he's focused. It's just a matter of those little intellectual disabilities or little behavioral disabilities that we're working on with him. So I'm telling myself it's simple. I can just talk with him, work him through it. But you guys, it's not as simple as it seems. It's a challenge. Even at home, I'm noticing he's doing that. He can be watching television. He'll stand up. He'll pull his pants down. He's torn between, should I stay here and watch what's on TV or do I gotta go pee? And I have to teach him, like, hey, put it on pause. Go to the bathroom first. But it's still a matter of waiting till you get to the bathroom to pull your clothes down and all that. So I'm glad that I'm not a single parent. I don't have to do this on my own because I have 2 boys and I do have my husband here, and we just have to talk to each other and see what's the best way to communicate with him that his body parts is private. He don't want no one else to see it, and he just need to, wait till he gets to the bathroom and put out his pants and stuff. So this is a work in progress, but we're getting it, you guys. That's my story time. Let me know if that's something that you're going through your child as well. What do you do to handle it? Like I said, I'm learning and I'm trying to learn from everyone. So definitely get your comments in to me and let me know. All right, you guys. And if you have a story time, you can go ahead and send that to me via email to bootchubooks@yahoo.com. You can actually do a voice recording of your story. Just email it to me, because no one can tell a story like a mommy tell a story. You can put your own little swag on there and you can tell the story the way it deserves to be heard. If you don't want to do a voice recording, go ahead and type it out. Still email it to me. I would love to get your story out on my podcast so that other mommies can hear it and learn from it. I call it kind of a really, really story. So if you're telling yourself like, oh, did my child just really do this? Did this really just happen to me? Really, really. Let us know that story and we'll get it on a podcast so other mommies can learn from it, ask questions, benefit from it. We just want a safe place here where we can all share. At this time, I'm going to ask a couple of questions so that you guys can get to know myself, get to know my son, and just get a little bit of background on us and what we go through. Hopefully it can help you. If you have any questions, you could definitely send that to bootchubooks@yahoo.com, and I will definitely answer all your questions and whatever we can do to help each other, you guys. We are a village of autistic mommies, and let's get out there, get our stories out there so that we can help one another and get each other the resources that we need. So to start off, my first question is, what did you notice about your son to make you think that he was autistic? Well, I didn't notice. It was actually my husband that looked at our son and was like, hey, he's autistic. I think he's autistic. Let's look into it more. I didn't feel that it was autism because of this reason. We work 10 to 12 hour shifts. We work night shifts, my husband as well. And I just felt like my son wasn't getting the attention that he needed. So while we're working, he's at home with my mother-in-law. She came here to the States when he was 2 weeks, and she stayed from the time he was 2 weeks until he was a little bit after a year old, like maybe 13 months, 14 months is when she went back home to Africa. And I just felt like for the first year of my son's life, he wasn't hearing any English because she didn't speak any English. She spoke Igbo. So she would sit here, babysit our kids. She's watching her Nigerian Nollywood movies. I just felt like he wasn't hearing any English. So when I come home from work, you guys, working 10 to 12 hours in the warehouse, come home just exhausted. And as I mentioned, I was working nights. When I come home, it's early in the morning. I kiss my kid. I have time to like maybe pump out some milk from him. And then I go to bed and I'm exhausted. And when I get up, it's time to take a shower and just repeat, go back to work again. And that was just my routine every day. I'm serious. It's like this world is just designed to keep us busy, chasing after money, not because we need it, but it's a necessity. We have to, pay bills. But it's designed to just keep us busy and not putting family first. So I didn't accept that he was autistic for that reason. I just felt like he needed that mommy FaceTime. I need to be sitting here talking to him, feeding him English vocabulary, and give him just the attention that he deserves. So that's why I felt like, no, it's not autism. He just need to hear some English. He needs some FaceTime from mommy. Okay, my next question. Did you accept right away that he was autistic? Yeah, I covered that. I didn't. What made me accept that he was autistic? Here's what made me accept, you guys, that he was autistic. My husband was doing some research and he went to a website, autismspeak.org. That is AUSTIMSPEAKS.org, autismspeaks.org. Now, when you go to that website, they have this little test you could do, ask some questions to see if your child's autism. I'm just going to read a couple of questions, you guys, that's on that test. And then you guys can go to their website and check it out yourself. But it asks here, does your child play pretend or make believe? For me, no. He wasn't taking a car and going vroom vroom. He wasn't taking like a baby doll and trying to feed it. These are some of the things they did as well at school when they was testing them for autism. When we took him to the pediatrician, they was doing these little things. But no, there was no pretend. There was no any type of pretend play at all. It asked the question, have you ever wondered if your child might be deaf? No, I didn't wonder if he was deaf. I knew that he wasn't responding to his name, but he can be sitting in front of the television. He'll say something on the television. He'll look up, repeat it, and then go back to playing. So I knew he wasn't deaf. He just wasn't responding to his name. Little things of that nature. Another question asked on this test is, does your child like climbing on things? For me, yes, absolutely. He climbs on everything. Does your child walk on his tiptoes? Yes. Does he line things up straight? Yes, yes, yes. He was lining up everything straight. He was totally obsessed with it. He'll go into the kitchen. He'll pull out cans of food. He'll line them up straight in the kitchen. I'll go to the bathroom. He'll have toothbrushes, toothpaste, just everything lined up straight on the floor. Go to his room, the same thing with his toys, everything lined up straight. He would rip pages out of the book and just line them up straight on the floor. I mean, he was just lining up everything straight. He was just, for us, very obsessive with it. So those are some of the questions. I'm not going to read them all. I want to say it was maybe about, 20 or 30 different questions. But I believe after you answer those questions, it'll give you more information. I just can't remember. My son is 5 now. We did this when he was like 18 months. But I checked the website and it still is up there. So definitely, you guys, if you thinking like, my child might be autistic, what signs do I need to look for? Definitely go to autismspeak.org and check out that questionnaire so you can learn more about that. Okay, another question is, did you come up with some kind of action plan? Yes, I remember looking, you guys, in the media and just seeing so many positive stories of kids with autism. I heard about a kid who was maybe 9 or 10 years old and he was going to college. There was a adult autistic gentleman and they put him in a helicopter, flew him over the city line, and he was able to just go back to a art gallery and just draw everything he saw, all the buildings exactly, precisely. He was autistic, and I was just like, wow. So my plan of action was that my kid was going to just surpass them all. I was going to just 100% put myself into this, give him the FaceTime that he needs, and just see what artistic talents my child had so that we can bring him out and just kind of look at what he can do rather what he cannot do. We started, with ABA therapy in home. They came to the house. ABA was certain days. He had another day for speech therapy. I was there 100% for mommy mode, asking questions, just giving my full attention. Even when they went home, and I watched what they did with my children, and I just did the same with my son. I did the exact same. Hey, let's work on this. I love how they had when he has his little tantrums and he's crying. Well, first we're going to do this, then we're going to do that. He picked up on that really quick, and he'll stop his little tantrum and he'll be like, okay, let me do this first, then I'm going to get what I want. And I love that no matter what it was, his therapist, they gave him what he wants. So whether it was just to hold her keys and shake it and play with it. Okay, you did this first. Here's the keys. Shake, play with it. And I just pretty much inculcate that in my child throughout his life. It just got funny when he started doing it to me first. He'll remember it, and I won't, and be like, "No, mommy, first, no cookie, then dinner." I'm like, hey, do I have to listen and give him what he wants because he did it? Well, sometimes I will give in and do it because I was just proud of that moment. But yes, that's some of the things we did with our action plan. Okay, another question I have here is, did you play the blame game, feeling guilty? Yes, there was a lot of things I was looking at. First, I was looking at my age because I have two boys. They're 18 months apart. So I had my kids when I was 39 and the other one when I was 40. And I was like, well, I waited too late in life to have kids. Is it my age? They kept referring to my pregnancy as a geriatric pregnancy, like you old. So yeah, I thought maybe that was it. Also, his birth. My water broke at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I gave birth at 5 o'clock in the morning the next day. Yes, 25 hours, of labor. So I was like, wow, did that play a role in it? And then also, when it comes to just food, the first year, me and my husband was married. We was, back and forth here to Nigeria. And I'm telling you guys, when I was in Nigeria, the food is fresh every single day. My skin was beautiful, flawless. I felt so good. I looked so good. Just everything was just beautiful. Come back here to the United States, the food is just horrible. It's just different. I felt like maybe that played a bad role on my body, and feeding myself that food and turn around feeding my kids that food. I thought maybe, hey, that was it too. That's why I love to, in upcoming episodes, as I mentioned before, we're going to interview a mommy passionate about the food and the gut and the detoxing and so forth, and what role that plays in autism. The next question I have here: did finding out that your child have autism discourage you from having more kids? No. When he was diagnosed with autism, I pretty much was giving birth to my second child, so I didn't have time to really think about it and process it. But I think knowing that my child had autism, I would still have more kids because I have 9 brothers and sisters. Can't imagine my life without one of them. I love them all. So I know I didn't want my child to be a only child. I was still going to have more, but it didn't discourage me at all. I know I'm a strong mommy, a strong parent with a lot of love to give. And no matter what circumstances there are for my child, I was going to love my child just the same and just push and fight and bring awareness. So it didn't discourage me at all. So I hope other parents with children with autism won't discourage you from having other kids either. My second child, by the way, is not on the autism spectrum. He's a beautiful little boy, and he's doing just fine. Both of them are. Okay, next question. What did you find to be most helpful with your child? I'm going to stick with FaceTime. Just taking that time off from work, trying to find a work from home job, being there to just give him FaceTime, feeding him English vocabulary, not giving up to him. I'm telling you guys, if you have plants, cats, dogs in your house, you can talk to them. You can talk to your kids. I know it's going to be frustrating because your child is nonverbal. Maybe you think that they're not taking in anything you're saying. Don't give up on your child, you guys. Just talk to them. When my child did finally start talking, he was repeating and saying some things that he learned weeks or even months ago. Like, they're taking it in. They're listening. So just work with them and give them their time to just be able to talk. Another thing is his therapist, his teachers and so forth, they was making little cards for him so that when he wants something, he can point to the card. He can point to a picture of a drink and say, he wants something to drink. He can point to a picture of just kind of like we was watching him and just creating cards for anything he probably might ask for, television. He can point to it. I got tired of those cards, you guys, real quick, because I don't want him to lean on those cards. I want him to talk. I want him to say what he wants. I didn't want him to just be, pointing for the rest of his life. So yeah, I'll let him have the cards when his therapist is there. When she leaves, them cards are gone. They disappear, and I'm trying to get him to talk. You want bread? Say bread. I'm bread. I'm like pronunciated for him. And then when I noticed, you guys, that he was in his room playing by himself, and he'll just be sitting there talking up a storm when you're not watching, when you're not looking, that's when I was like, oh, kid, yeah, them cards going in the garbage, and you about to talk all day long. We're not going to just let you talk when you want to talk. You're going to talk all the time. So when I noticed that he was repeating, that he could actually talk, that he is verbal, it's just a matter of bringing that verbalism out of him, open him up. Maybe, I don't know if he was just shy, but we did. He came out of that little shell, and he started talking. I'm going to do an interview with him in the future. I'm probably going to end every podcast with an interview with him, so you can see kind of what we're dealing with as far as social and just kind of intellectual disability, because he's talking, but there's no depth to what he says. Like, I'll give you an example. I'll say, Danny, how you doing today? I'm mad. Why are you mad, Danny? I'm mad because I'm angry. Okay, you mad and you're angry. Why are you mad and you're angry? I'm mad and I'm angry because I'm upset. He'll just never tell you why he's upset. He just find just little synonyms of the word, just another way of telling you that he's upset. And then by the time you do get around to mentioning it, he just completely forgot. So that's what we're dealing with. Yeah, he's getting a little bit better, but yeah, that's what we're dealing with. And then pretty much that's it. That's all the questions I have. If you guys have more questions for me, I'm very open to answer any questions. I don't want to skip over anything and make it sound like something is too private or too personal. I really want to get as much information out there as possible so that we can help other mommies and help ourselves, you guys. So I'm going to take a little break right now. When we come back, I'm going to interview my husband so that we can get some information from him, because as I mentioned earlier, he's the one that looked at our son and was like, hey, he has autism. So I want to know exactly what it is he saw as well, and maybe we can get some more information in that way, and then we'll come back and we'll share that with you guys. So stay tuned. You do not want to miss it. All right, and we're back from break. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to go ahead and interview my husband. I'm going to ask him a couple of questions because he is the one that looked at our son and came to the conclusion that it was autism. He was on the autism spectrum. So thank you, my love. Thank you for coming onto the podcast. Let's start off with the first question. What did you notice about our son to make you come to the conclusion that he was on the autism spectrum?
Some things were becoming more evident as time passed. For example, Danny won't respond to his name right away when you call him. And around 30 months or so, he started regressing and won't use some of the words he learned anymore. And before he turned 12, he won't make any effort to walk or stand. I expected him to walk as early as I did because I walked when I was 10 months. But the funny thing is, Danny started walking at 13 months with no standing or crawling. He just stood up and started walking.
Yeah, I remember that. I actually still had a video of that on my phone. And then I know with our younger son, he started walking at around 10, 11 months or so. So he wasn't responding to his name. He wasn't walking before he turned 1. And then was there any other signs that you could see?
Yes, like I said, he was regressing. Before he turned 12, he was saying dada. He was saying a lot of things that you can see that he's making efforts to learn or to speak or to imitate us while we talked. But he turned 13, it's as if a lot of those things he learned were beginning to wipe out of his memory. So he wouldn't use them anymore. You call him, he responds, but not right away. It's like there is a delay with how he responds.
All right, so we're talking in months here. We're talking 12 or 13 months. He's 5 years old now. Okay, then let's go to the next question. Do you think food in America had a role in autism? Because I know just going to Africa, the food was fresh every day. It was clearing up my skin. It just make your body feel better. And then coming back here to all this over-processed food. Do you think that food had a role in autism?
Sincerely, there is no known cause of autism, but it seems to be a problem more common in industrialized countries. And one thing these countries share in common is the amount of processed food that is available. And if we are honest, what we eat as adults can make us sick. Now imagine a baby developing in the womb or outside the womb. And I remember testing one of the baby foods one time I was feeding Danny, and I will tell you that it didn't taste good. And I was like, what is in this food that makes it taste this way?
Yes.
So, and again, we have had so many stories about this baby food. Sometimes I wouldn't want to say anything about it at this point.
Yeah, I know a lot of the gifts I got at baby showers was just little blenders so that I can boil my own carrots and give them the carrots fresh rather than give them the, Gerbered or baby food carrots. Because, just tasting that stuff at my baby shower, you taste different foods as a game. It was just like, yeah.
And again, apart from food, there are other factors as well, such as the age of the mother when she became pregnant and family history. Before I moved to this country, I've never had or known anyone in Nigeria that was autistic. But when I moved here, I had a lot of autism. It's like you hardly see 50 kids with no one being autistic. And again, I was concerned again because in your family, you have a sister and a brother who have kids with autism. So I wouldn't say autism is genetic, but when you put a lot of factors into it, it's hard to ascertain exactly what causes it.
Yeah, I know. I thought about that too. As far as with my age, they was calling my pregnancy a geriatric pregnancy, like, oh, you're old. But yeah, I know. As far as family as well, I thought about my sister and I was like, no, I think the baby daddy had a younger brother that was autistic, and then I thought about my brother and his wife and I was like, well, I ain't got nothing to say for that one. I don't know, maybe it is hereditary. I don't know, but yeah, it's a lot of different thoughts and opinions that goes into it. And then lastly, I want to talk about the different levels of autism. That's something that I'm learning too, looking at a lot of different mommies and stuff on Facebook and just TikTok. I see a lot of even kids get to their adult years and they're still nonverbal, and then there's kids that don't talk until they're 10 or 11, but then they talk and they're so just well spoken of and everything. So with Danny, he started off not talking, but he is kind of like a high functioning autistic child now because he can talk, he can express himself now. He's doing a little bit better. What do you think about his progress that he's made so far?
I think the progress is attributed to doing the right thing early. If you are suspicious of something, go get a professional diagnosis or professional help. The problem with a lot of parents is sometimes they say things they are not sure of, but they say, no, my child can't be autistic, because sincerely nobody wants to plan or nobody wants to expect that something will be wrong with their kid. So because of that delay, because of that denial, they do not go find out what is happening, what is wrong at that point in time. So but if they do, it is expected that their kids, if they get the right help on time, they will do well. For example, we started following up Danny with help in home training, ABA, taking him to special schools and stuff like that. All of those it paid off, because right now Danny is doing a lot more better compared to kids in his class, and Danny is no longer in school with special needs kids. Instead, he's in school with other kids. So how well your child turns out, if they're on the spectrum, determines how fast or how soon you are able to go get help to help them to learn how to manage the situation.
Yeah, exactly. So Yeah, we covered a lot of information. I hope this is encouraging for other mommies who are just learning that their child has autism, or just suspecting that maybe your child has autism. Talk about it. Ask questions. Do the research. Earlier in the podcast, I brought out Autism Speak, and how you can go on to Autism Speak and look at that questionnaire to ask yourself if your child has autism. I think I spelled it wrong. It was AUTISMSPEAKS.org, autismspeak.org. So go check it out. Look at the questionnaires, the survey there, and see if your child has autism. From there, go to your pediatrician. Try to get your child in school early. We started our kid in school pre-K when he turned 3. So look in your state, your area, and see if that's possible, and then just follow up with it.
Do not be embarrassed if you see something that you are not sure of. Don't be ashamed. If it was in your power, you wouldn't want your child to be on the spectrum. Your child is on the spectrum because it's out of your control. So if it's out of your control, go ahead and do something that will make you feel a lot more better, and that will be helping your child to get the needed support and diagnosis they need early on time. That will save you a lot of headache at the end.
All right, so I'm going to let my husband go so he can run to the bus stop and get David right now, and we'll be back with my closing thoughts. Stay tuned. All right, and we're back. So just to conclude this podcast, I wanted to let you guys know where I can be reached at. If you have any questions, comments, you would like to be a guest on my podcast, you can contact me at boochewbooks@yahoo.com. BOOCHEWBOOKS, boochewbooks@yahoo.com. I also wanted to let you guys know that aside from doing my podcast, I also write children books. The children book I'm going to feature for this podcast is Dodo the Dolphin and the Jealous Shark. It is available on Amazon.com. I hope you guys get a chance to get it and read it to your children and enjoy it, and send me your feedback on that as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. As I mentioned before, this podcast is going to be weekly, and we're going to have some interviews with some awesome mommies and hear their stories. So thank you, and goodbye.